Now, the KDHS statistics of 2022 are highlighting something that is quite alarming. So they said that when we look at under 5-year-olds, we're looking about 3% of them having what we are now terming as childhood obesity. Now, when they looked at teenagers, and this is at the ages between 15 and 19 years old, they found that about 13% of girls and 2% of boys were actually obese. That means having weights that were too high for their ages. And the trajectory states that if we continue on this path, by 2030, we're going to have over 1 million of our children suffering from obesity. Now, this is alarming because the children are the future, and if we do not safeguard them, then we are running a very high risk of dealing with a lot of chronic conditions in the years to come. Now, the 4th of March is the World Obesity Day. And this year, we're focusing on the children. As we've said, the pediatric population is key when it comes to the health of a nation. Now, I am your host on the show today. My name is Dr. Lauren Mengesa. I am an obstetrician and gynecologist. I am based at Akira Care, which is at the Upper Hill Medical Center and at the Nairobi Hospital. Joining me today is a nutritionist. His name is Kefa. He'll tell us a bit about what he does and where he's based.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My name is Nyanumba Kefa, consultant nutritionist. I work with the Crystal Health Consultants, and we offer nutrition and wellness services to a number of insurance companies, including CIC Insurance.
Asante sana. Karibu to the show. So today we are going to be looking at how our plate is putting us at risk, and especially our children. Joining him and joining us is Reina. So Reina is a parent who has dealt firsthand with childhood obesity. Reina, do you want to just share with us a bit about who you are and why you're here today?
Yes, I'll be very glad. First of all, thank you for hosting me.
Karibu.
I've been staying home with my children. I have 3 of them. And the middle one, who is 8 years old, a daughter. For the past 2 years, I will say, I noted she was adding weight, but not that faster. But last year, you know, I started seeing her having stretch marks. She had accumulated a lot of fat on her chest. And again now, you know, like she was kind of becoming docile. And like eating more frequently. And the tummy was too big, and I became so much concerned. And I will say she wasn't sick, but I made a step. I took a step forward, and I went to see a pediatrician. And when I reached there, I explained. I remember asking my doctor, her doctor, that is, if I'm becoming paranoid. And then she said that we need to do some tests. So we did endocrinology tests. And when the results were out, they gave me some bit of goosebumps because I didn't expect at her age to have so many abnormalities in her results.
So daktari alisema kulikuwa na shida na vitu kama gani?
She did LFTs, which had abnormalities like in her alkaline was very high. We did cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, the bad fat.
The HDL.
Yes, the LDL.
LDL is the good cholesterol, HDL is the bad cholesterol. So the LDL was high.
Yes, the LDL was high. Then the cortisol, the cortisol hormone was also very high. The blood sugar, it was elevated. Okay, yes, still within the normal ranges, but it was very elevated. It really made me wonder why her age.
And what's happening.
And what is happening to my daughter, because the end goal here, we are supposed to raise children who are healthy, but not sick one. So that's when now the doctor advised me how to start to walk this journey. And for the past 2 months, it has been amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Now, Daktari Kefa, for a very long time, childhood obesity was thought to be something of the West. Tulikuwa tunaona hizi ni mambo tunaona kwa TV, hazituhusu kama Wakenya ama Waafrika. Lakini tukiangalia hivi karibuni tunaona kama mambo haya yameanza kubadilika na kwa haraka tena sana. What is changing? What is different in the society? What is different in our interactions that we're now having a rise in childhood obesity?
Now, our lifestyle has really changed. I mean, we've adopted a westernized lifestyle whereby, you know, people are consuming a lot of processed foods.
No.
And to make the situation worse, we're actually leading what I would call a sedentary lifestyle. And this is not just affecting adults, but children as well.
No.
And that is why we are seeing a number of them actually, you know, getting lifestyle diseases. And I think as a nation, we need to understand that for us to secure our future, we must, you know, take care of the healthy status of our children. Yeah.
Umeguzia mambo ya lifestyle na pengine kuna mtu anaketi mahali anajiuliza what are the risk factors? Ni nini ambazo zinatuweka kwa na ile urahisi ya kupata hizi kilo kwenda juu zaidi, especially tukiangalia wale watoto wadogo?
Now, there are a number of risk factors, and these risk factors can actually be classified into two categories. We have what you call the exogenous risk factors, and these are actually the external factors that we can actually control, including, you know, our diet, of course, very important, our activity level, and of course, we also have what you call the endogenous risk factors that, of course, include issues to do with the genetics, you know, hormonal issues. But of course, we need to understand that what happens around us actually affects us just by 10%. 90% depends on how we react. Yeah. So
tunaongelea mambo ya genetics. Inamaanisha kwa familia kama kuna mtu ambaye ana shida ya kuwa na uzani ulio juu kabisa, there's a risk of also having a child mwenye akona shida kama hiyo. Is this, how would you maybe just tell us a bit more about that, genetics na uhusiano wake na childhood obesity?
I would actually equate it to a gun with some bullets inside. What pulls the trigger is our lifestyle, and that is why for people with a family history of obesity or the lifestyle diseases, they simply need to be more careful in terms of their lifestyle choices. In fact, on a yearly basis, it's very important for such people to see a nutritionist, for example, so that they can get a meal plan that addresses what they're supposed to take, how they're supposed to take their meals, and when they're supposed to, you know, check their food. So we should actually always remember that we're in control. Remember I said that what happens around us affects us just by 10%, 90% actually depends on how we react. Yeah.
How about socio-economic status? How is that affecting both wale ambao wako juu kabisa, the more affluent, and the low social-economic status?
Of course, it's surprising to know that, you know, obesity cases among children actually tend to be more in urban areas. Yeah, because, you know, most people end up consuming processed foods almost on daily basis. And you actually give the same foods to our children, you know, the kind of snacks we pack for them when they are going to school actually predisposes them to obesity. And to me, I think the most important thing that we need to do right now is to create awareness among parents so that they can understand that, you know, the healthy status of our children actually depends on the lifestyle choices that we make right now. Yeah.
Reina, umetuambia uliona kama kulikuwa na tofauti ambayo ilikupatia wasiwasi kama mzazi. Could you take us through what your typical diet would look like for your daughter kabla hujafanya ile mabadiliko ambayo umeweka saizi, please?
So, you know, I usually want them to become independent at a very young age. So they started like bathing by themselves. You know, she has been taking that responsibility for quite some time. But now I usually once in a while check. So I told her to come and take a bath in my shower. That is when I noted that this is a child growing in a big body. dinner. So after now going through the teaching with the doctor, I came to learn that now eating all this time, it's a lot of food. So I removed the in-between stuff. Then now I had to set rules in my house. When you come to my home, we are saying we are living to eat and not eating to live. So if you are not hungry, but even if there is food, don't eat. Eat only when you need this food. So like now, my girl, we have learned that there is no in-between food. So it has to be breakfast, it has to be lunch and supper. And again now, we are observing also the portions.
Good thing. Hapo. How were the portions before? Ulikuwa unazingatia chochote ama ni vile tu amependa?
I told you that I stay at home with them. But I don't know where I lost it. I only find that after now being told by the doctor to check the portions, that's when I realized that my daughter is eating an adult portion of food. Basically, you know, we have worked this journey for 2 months, and we are doing great. We went for checkup last Thursday. She had not lost some kgs, but the BMI had gone down, and even when you look at the body physique, it's now looking better. But what we have really worked on is basically checking on the portion.
Thank you so much, Reina. Now, what is in your pantry? What snacks are you giving your children? Talk to us on our SMS lines at 22422. Call us on our lines below. Share your experience. How is your child handling their meals? How are their portions? And how many snacks are they actually having in between the food? How much soda? How much crisps? What are they really eating? Now, after the break, we're going to be looking at those little tables that you find behind your snacks and what they really mean. And we're going to be looking more into the other factors that are contributing to childhood obesity. So please don't touch that dial. Stay tuned.
At Jolu, we stand with Kenyan farmers, power your productivity with our trusted tractors, harvesters, and farm implements, all backed by readily available spare parts and reliable after-sales support. And now, owning your dream machine is easier than ever. Through our partner banks, enjoy 80 to 90% asset financing made simple. Call us today on 0743 682 700. For Jolu, with Jolu, always Jolu.
Glovo ni ile app inakuconnect na your city with the crunchiest fried chicken still hot. Ama shopping bila queues to enjoy more playtime. Ata her favorite flowers. So date night jipe. Download the app, order Glovo and get anything you want in minutes.
Ngozi yako ina glow. Nilijipaka mafuta leo asubuhi nikikam, lakini skin yangu ishaparara and it looks so dull.
Sis, see, it's the new Nice and Lovely Lemon Extract Body Lotion. Hiyo ndo secret yangu to a moisturized and bright skin. Usimix.
New Nice and Lovely Lemon Lotion, enriched with vitamin C and sunflower seed oil for 48-hour nourishing glow and brighter skin. Try Nice and Lovely Lemon Lotion today.
Keep business growing with calling, texting, and SMS. Stay connected with customers and suppliers with Zidisha Plus voice and data. Join Safaricom Business today and power your progress.
get a mobile loan of up to 500,000 shillings or an unsecured loan of up to 9 million shillings. Visit a Cooperative Bank branch today. Cooperative Bank. We are you.
Welcome back. Now, our first question asks, anasema ana mtoto wa 14 years old na ako na 70 kilos. Is that obesity? Another one is asking about a 19-year-old who is 71 kgs and wondering if that might be quantified as obesity. Now, Daktari, one of the things ambazo tumezungumzia Raina ameangazia mambo ya diet.
Yeah.
Tungependa kuelewa tu zaidi ni nini haswa kwa hii diet ambayo inaleta matatizo kama haya? What is it that we are eating that is we're not supposed to be eating?
Now, let me start by defining nutrition. Nutrition is actually the study of the nutrients in our foods. Now, how our body makes use of these nutrients and the connection between our food intake, our health status and disease. And as I said, we live at the time when most people have adopted a westernized lifestyle, whereby people are consuming foods that are known to be rich in terms of empty calories, but they don't contain any nutrients. And that is why we are seeing a number of people, including children, actually getting what you call the food cravings. Now, for us to be sure that we are adopting a healthy diet, now there are 3 important questions that are supposed to be answered the right way. And the first question is, what are we taking? Number 2 is, how are we taking our foods? And then the other question is supposed to be, when are we taking our foods? Now, those 3 questions need the right answers for us to be sure that we've adopted, a healthy diet. If I was to start with the first question, what are we taking? Now, we are supposed to measure that, especially for our children, we cut down their intake of processed foods that are known to contain a lot of sugar, salt, and saturated fats. Examples of sugary foods, of course, include cakes. She talked about, the soft drinks. In fact, they contain the worst form of sugar. It's actually known as high fructose corn syrup. It increases the risk of diabetes because it actually makes our body to overproduce insulin, and that, of course, predisposes us to insulin resistance. Of course, we've also seen people, who take a lot of sugar in the tea. And in the process, of course, that also increases the risk of conditions such as diabetes. But apart from, the sugar intake, we also need to be keen in terms of foods that are rich in terms of sodium, because that also predisposes our children, and of course it also predisposes us as adults to conditions such as hypertension. Then of course we also need to make sure that we cut down our intake of foods that are rich in terms of saturated fats, because that also increases the risk of conditions such as high cholesterol levels. And these are conditions that have become very, very, very common nowadays. But apart from considering what you are taking, we also need to consider how we are taking our foods. Because we've also seen, children who seem to take the right foods, but because of not taking them the right way, they're actually predisposed to obesity. For example, during weaning, I've seen parents actually, for example, give children, pumpkin, potatoes, and spinach, without proteins. So such children end up gaining a lot of weight because of excess intake of, starches. We've also seen people take a lot of, more than one, proteins. That increases the risk of digestive disorders, and the studies have shown that most people with digestive disorders, actually including children, end up gaining a lot of weight. So we don't just talk about what to take, but we also consider how we take our foods. But of course, as I said, it's also very important for us to consider when we are supposed to take our foods, because that guides us in terms of our food portions. We know that our metabolism rate slows down towards the end of the day, and we are supposed to reduce our food intake as the day progresses. So unfortunately, we don't do that. Sometimes our children come from school and we give them, a lot of food, especially towards the end of the day, and that can also contribute to childhood obesity. So those 3 questions actually need the right answers for us to be able to assist our children, when it comes to obesity issues.
Doctor, if you could join me on the table as we look at tumesema pale ukinunua, anytime you buy anything, ukiangalia pale nyuma ya packet, kuna maandishi yako pale na yana maana fulani ambayo tunafaa kuzingatia. So maybe if you could just look at a few examples of this. For example, a bottle of soda. Manake tumesema soda inapendwa sana na watoto wakiona. Just to try and understand, tukiangalia soda, ni nini ziko imewekwa haswa, because at the back they write these things, lakini mara nyingi hatuzingatii. We open the soda, take, throw away the container, but there's a reason this information is at the back of the bottle or the packet. So maybe just a bit about soda. What are the specific things in the soda that would be considered harmful? Okay,
now we're talking about the type of sugar that we get from the soft drinks. And I talked about, the high fructose corn syrup. But apart from that, we're also talking about the food colors that are also included. And all those ones actually tend to have the negative health effects when it comes to, our healthy status. But apart from salt, of course, we also know there are many other products that are also known to contain a number of, compounds that are supposed to affect us. And I think as consumers, it's very, very important for us to understand what we get from our foods. Okay. Yeah. Let's take a call as we pull up. Hello. Tumempoteza yule. So we were talking about the nutrition tables, the ones that are at the back. So soda, you've said the sugar, and you've also talked about salt. The flavors also that are also known to affect us, and that is why it's very, very important for us to be concerned about knowing, these labels. We also need to check if some of the products we purchase actually contain nutrients, because as I said, one of the reasons as why we take food on daily basis is for us to be able to get, various nutrients that are also supposed to work as a team. So by the end of the day, we also need to make sure that we don't just take food for the sake of it. We must get the nutrients that our body needs. So we are looking at a nutritive value table. We can have that up again. So this is showing us the things that we're saying we need to pay attention to at the back. So you can see for this particular label, inasema just the total fat alone, 14% of the product is fat. Unaona sodium wanasema 12%. Carbohydrate 10%. There's very little protein. So maybe now, just a bit of a comment on that. The concern would be actually the sodium content. As I said, excessive consumption of sodium-rich foods usually increases the risk of conditions such as hypertension, and therefore it's very important for us to be keen in terms of the amount of sodium we get from the products that we actually purchase, considering that by the end of the day we also use sodium when we are preparing our meals. So by the end of the day, people take a lot of sodium. So, and these are some of the products that we actually need to cut it down. We also need to understand that manufacturers actually use sodium as one of the preservatives, and therefore one of the simple strategies for reducing our sodium intake is to reduce processed foods. Let's look at another table from a commonly used product, tomato sauce, just a generic one from a common tomato sauce that's used on the... Okay, so we can move on to what's on the table. Now, Daktari, let's talk about portions. Because Reina ameongezea, amesema alikuwa anaona mtoto akiangalia sahani yake na yake ni kama karibu zinafanana ama zinafatana. Could you just talk a bit about how we're supposed to portion this plate when you talk about the how of how we're supposed to eat? Now, before I talk about that, there are three important questions that I want our viewers to differentiate. And the first one is appetite. Number two is hunger. And of course, we also have what we call the cravings. Most people are not able to differentiate between the three. Now, hunger is the need for food. Appetite is the desire for food, and craving is actually an intense desire usually for a specific food. And most people will always crave for, the fast foods because they're empty in terms of calories, and that is why they end up taking a lot of foods. Otherwise, naturally, our body is supposed to control us when it comes to our food portions, because that works through what we call the unconscious mind. But of course, as professionals, we usually guide our patients so that they can be able to approximate, the amount of portions they're supposed to take. Let's take a quick call and then we'll be back. Hello.
Hello, ni Daniel Odio kutoka maeneo ya Lugari na Huduma. Karibu sana Daniel, swali lako. Swali nina maswali mawili kwa daktari. Swali la kwanza. Mimi natoa 3 years. Na hata 3 years. Usipofuata linia ya niseme vizuri, anaweza pata obesity. Unazungumzia mtoto wa miaka 3? Niko na watoto wa miaka 3, mapacha wawili. Kwa hiyo ninaweza nisipofuata masharti ya nutrition, wanaweza pata obesity. Na swali la pili. Ulisema swali la pili ni kama mama ni mjamzito na mama kama ni mjamzito na aende kwa clinics zake na apatie mafunzo kwa kuje apate hiyo masharti kabisa na huyo mtoto mwenye ana obesity. Shida itakuwa ni nini? Unasema mama mjamzito halafu ambaye huwa anaenda kliniki kila wakati na anapatia mafunzo na kila chakula ambayo anaambia ile chakula ambayo anafaa kuwa anakula na apate hizo masharti kabisa, lakini bado akijifungua mtoto upatikana kuna obesity na amepata hizo masharti zote. Ile itakuwa ni nini? Naam. Asante kwa maswali yako, maswali muhimu kabisa. Naam, tunazungumzia mama ambaye ni mjamzito. Ukiwa mjamzito kuna zile clinic ambazo utafuatiliwa. Kwa kila clinic kuna zile picha utafanywa, picha za aina ya ultrasound. Na kuna yale mapimo tunaangazia ili tujue kama mtoto wako anakuwa kwa ile njia tunatarajia. So for every week, ukikuja maybe 30 weeks, 32 weeks, kuna ile size tunatarajia mtoto akue. Tukiona kama mtoto wako ana kilo zaidi ya ile tunatarajia, kuna mambo ambayo lazima tuzingatie. Mojawapo ikiwa kupima ugonjwa wa kisukari. Wale wa mama ama wanawake ambao wana ujauzito na wana ugonjwa wa kisukari, wakati mwingine hata wakizingatia ile maagizo ya diet, bado kuna shida ambayo haijatatuliwa, ambayo ni ile ugonjwa wa kisukari. So utapata wakati uko na 24 weeks to around 26 weeks, lazima tufanye screening, and this is for every pregnant woman. We must check for diabetes in pregnancy. Tukipata una shida kama hii, kuna yale mabadiliko tutakwambia ufanye kwa diet, kwa lifestyle. Na tukiona kama bado hayaleti mabadiliko, then lazima tutakuweka kwa dawa ya kupunguza sukari. So wakati unafuatilia clinic zako, then lazima tuangazie mambo haya, because if you don't control the diabetes, kuna risk ya kupata mtoto ambaye ana kilo zaidi, na kando na hayo huyo mtoto pia ana risk ya kupata either shida ya sukari ama obesity baadaye kwa maisha yake. Ameuliza swali, anasema mtoto wa miaka 3 anaweza kuwa na shida ya obesity ikiwapo hatafuatilia maagizo bila inavyofaa.
So the answer is yes. Kuwa anaweza pata shida ya obesity because in most cases shida huanza from 6 months because before 6 months WHO recommends exclusive breastfeeding. At 6 months ndio shida sana wakati mwingi nasa, because most parents hawapati complementary feeding program that is supposed to guide them to know which foods to introduce at what stage and of course including the food combination. If you kwamba we've seen parents who introduce sugar or salt before 1 year, and such children of course end up getting what you call the food cravings. Now ndio wale utakuta in most cases by 3 years or 2 years most of them unakuta wameanza kupata shida ya obesity. Yes.
Umezungumzia mambo ya hunger, cravings. Sasa tutatofautishaje haya na tutajuaje what do you do ili ukiona mtu wako ni craving na si njaa?
Yes.
How do you approach the situation?
Now, one of the reasons as to why watu wengi wanapata shida za food cravings is actually because of lack of certain nutrients. Meaning, as we need to understand that craving is actually the way the body cries for nutrients. Of course, there are many other reasons as to why we might get actually food cravings, and therefore the most important thing we need to do in such a case is actually to make sure that we introduce a variety of foods, and that will assist our children in terms of getting various nutrients. In fact, one of the guidelines that I usually give my patients is making sure that at least at any given moment wakikula there are 3 colors on the place actually.
Tuna mfano kadhaa hapa, pengine tunaweza jaribu kuonyesha when we say we want a colorful plate.
Yes,
what exactly do we mean?
Yeah. I mean foods have different colors, and that of course should assist us to know that they have different nutrients. So for example, this one's actually grapes. They're actually green. Grapes can be taken as part of our snacks. Yeah. We have the eggs. And of course, we usually prefer the boiled eggs instead of fried egg.
Mambo ya yolk, egg white, yolk. Remove the yolk.
In fact, what you could just do is to try and control the number of eggs you take. I've seen parents wanapatia watoto a lot of eggs. I've also seen even adults wanakula 2 eggs per week, 2 eggs per sitting. That is actually 14 per week, because if they're going to take on daily basis, and that of course is not good. So we would actually prefer that they reduce the number of eggs that they take. If they could take 3-4 per week, that is enough. We also have yogurt. Now we recommend low fat yogurt because yogurt is actually rich in terms of calcium, and of course it's also known to assist us in terms of digestion process, and it can be taken during snack time, or sometimes when we're giving our children cereals. This can actually accompany the cereals, and of course plus a fruit.
Flavored yogurt versus plain natural yogurt.
we prefer the natural yogurt because, as I said, of course, we need to measure that we reduce some of the compounds that are known to affect us, and that is why it's very important for us to make sure that we don't go for the flavored, products. We also have rice, which is one of the starches that,
commonly.
Yes, most Kenyans actually take. The challenge is people take a lot of starches. And what we need to do is for us to make sure that we cut it down, especially for our children, we need to make sure that we cut down their starch intake, including rice, because that can actually increase the risk of obesity. Of course, we also have green bananas, for example. This can serve as part of our starches, because when you talk about starches, it's very important for us to also make sure that we interchange the intake. Now, we have proteins, which are actually classified into animal and plant proteins. Now, most people take a lot of beef. Yeah. And that happens because of cravings, especially for the people with conditions such as iron deficiency. Unakuta in most cases, they really have serious cravings for beef. So what we recommend is we need to interchange these proteins. Yeah. So by the end of the day, we also need legumes,
other options,
such as the beans. We also these are the other proteins that options we can also take that are actually classified under the plant proteins. And of course, the objective is for us to ensure that as much as we need to get nutrients from our foods, we also need to make sure that we control our total calorie intake, because that is what is going to assist our children in terms of, preventing, the increasing cases of obesity.
Okay. Yeah. Now, please talk to us on our SMS lines. Tell us your experience with obesity. Has your child shown signs of having weight that is just coming up a bit too fast? And what does this mean for your future? So after the break, we're going to be looking at what childhood obesity means and how it links to future conditions such as hypertension, magonjwa ya shinikizo la juu la damu, and other chronic conditions that can come as a result of childhood obesity. So please stay tuned and don't touch the dial. And welcome back. We have a caller. Hello.
Yes.
Karibu Uliza Daktari. Hello.
Yes.
Hello, tupe swali lako.
Mimi ni Jen. Hello.
Tunakusikia.
Mimi ni Jen, nauliza. Yes.
Swali lako.
Sasa umeongea juu ya obesity.
Naam.
Sasa hiyo ninauliza sasa, kama huyo mgonjwa akichukua muda mrefu bila kutibiwa hiyo obesity, kuna shida?
Naam. Asante kwa swali lako. I have another question asking, I got a baby who is 5 kilos. What might that mean? We have a mother who's saying that she has a daughter who is 5 years old and 25 kilos. Na anasema yeye mwenyewe ako 29 years old lakini kilo zake ni 106. Mwingine anasema, hello, my child is just 18 years old and she is 70 kilos. How can we go about it to reduce the kgs? So first I'll talk to the mother asking who gave birth to a 5 kg baby. Ukipata mtoto ambaye kilo zake zinazidi 4, wakati umejifungua, baada ya wiki 6, at your 6-week visit, ukirudi kwetu kama daktari wa kina mama, we must do a test inaitwa OGTT. Test hii inaangalia kama unaweza kuwa uko na shida ya kisukari, if you're diabetic. So if your baby is overweight, a big baby from birth, then lazima tupime ili tujue kama una ugonjwa hiyo ili tuweze kuitatua. Now, I'm coming back to you, Reina. We're being asked, what can we do to reduce this weight? Na umetuambia kwamba you have had some turnaround in your house. Kuna mambo yamebadilika kule. What have you done differently? Because now you're smiling.
I was forced to go back to drawing board.
Okay.
And I sat down and come up with a timetable. Now, like in my house, during breakfast, you'll find all of us eating yams.
Ngwashe,
yes. And even this 5-year-old boy is enjoying taking tea with a ngwashe.
Yeah.
And you'll find out that also I've removed the milkshake with a flavor. If they have to drink milk, it has to be the natural one. And during supper in my house, we used to eat a lot more of rice, ugali, and chapati. But today you'll find in my house people taking nduma with a stew. And I've also removed more of fruits. I'm not doing fruits, and I'm done doing drinks. So if they have to take juice, I have to make my natural juice from home. Like if I want to have them to have orange juice, I'll go buy orange and squeeze them.
So no preservatives, no added sugars.
Yes. And there, you have the liberty to add in lemon. You can mix with another type of fruit you want. And I was advised that the only good fruit now we have that we are advised to eat every day is avocado. So in my house, you do not lack avocado fruit. Yes, that's what I'm doing. And now also I've limited their time of screen. They are going out to play a lot. They are doing bike, riding, cycling. The girl is doing also skating, and they are going for swimming.
Now there's something I really want to hold on to there, mambo ya screen time. Because swali lingine nilikuwa nataka kuuliza is about activity. Do they go out? Do they play? Because one of the biggest problems you're having now ni mambo ya watoto kushinda kwa TV. Two things manake. One, wakati wanakula wamekewa pale screen and they say to distract them so that they can eat quickly. But the problem with that is the child does not have any awareness of what they're eating. Sasa anaendelea kula tu manake yako distracted, and that's another reason why sometimes you get obesity, because you're supposed to be aware that you're eating and aware that you're full. So eating with the screen on is a no-no. Mengine tena ni mambo ya badala kwenda nje. Najua saizi kunanyesha sawa, but instead of going out and playing, children are spending excess amounts of time on the screens. And that means that they're not getting their physical activity in, they're not sweating, they're not playing. So after eating, ni pale kwa TV. So has that also changed in terms of your children going out and being more active?
Yes. I regulate about the time on screen, and there are more of going out, playing with others. And for like a girl, I seriously cycle with her. We go along the road and make sure that when we come back, she has sweated.
I like that. I love that. Good job. Very good job. Doc, what is the impact? Wakati umesikia tumeuliza swali anasema if we don't treat this obesity, tusipoishughulikia, ni nini inatungoja pale mbele kwa siku za usoni?
Now, the number of dangers, and this actually includes lifestyle diseases like diabetes. We are talking of conditions such as hypertension. We are seeing a number of people getting high cholesterol levels that actually increases the risk of heart attack and stroke. And therefore, it's very important for us to make sure that we do something about it, because we end up actually getting sometimes even more than one condition. So that is why we really don't have an option. We must assist our children so that they can be able to, to ensure that, their weight is actually within the recommended range. And as I said, of course, this actually starts with their parents, because the way the parents actually shape their plates is very, very, very important. They need to measure that, especially at home, the kinds of food that actually brought nutritious foods. I'm happy that she has actually talked about reducing wheat products, which is one of the changes that she actually made. And some of the resources where our children are actually gaining a lot of weight is because of some food like wheat products, of course, including many other such as. So I think parents need to make informed lifestyle choices, and that is actually what's going to assist our children in terms of prevention of some of these conditions.
So children will do what they see, not what you tell them. So I like when you mesema you're cycling with your daughter. So the choices that we make as parents, children will also see. Hakuna vile utakuwa umeka chips na sausage na unampatia nduma na akule. So itabidi pia wewe uketi pale and you eat the same thing, because children will do what they see you doing. Daktari, there's a lot of concern about the aggressive marketing of all of this fast foods. Saizi unaenda ukiuziwa chakula pale kwa fast food, unaongezewa energy drink pale for free, and all these things are encouraging essentially bad lifestyle choices. What is your comment about just all these things ambazo zinasukuma pale kwenye social media, on all our billboards and everything?
I think what we need to do is is for us to make sure that we get, the right information from professionals, because by the end of the day, these companies are simply marketing their products, and we are the ones who get lifestyle diseases. In fact, if you go to most hospitals, you'll be surprised to know that, there are people who are really suffering because of these conditions. And what I would actually urge the general public to do is to make sure that before they purchase any product, they need to understand what they're actually purchasing, because it's sad to know that most people purchase lifestyle diseases using their own money, and therefore it's very important for them to make sure that they make informed food choices. Yeah.
So Daktari, just as we close, maybe just tukimalizia, because we know it all starts here. Pengine kuna mama ungependa kutuambia tu in closing about our plate and how that can change this trajectory. Tumesema hatutaki kufika hiyo 1 million children with obesity. We are refusing that.
So we have different food groups that we need to understand. Before we even talk about our food portions, it actually starts by understanding the different food groups that we have. We have what you call the carbohydrates that I've talked about. We also have what you call the proteins that are actually classified into animal and plant proteins. We have the vegetables and the fruits. So we should actually make sure that when we are serving our foods, this is actually the approach that we are supposed to take. But remember, I also talked about our food combination. So let's say if you want to take fruits during mealtime, of course, we prefer that you start with the fruits instead of taking your fruits after the meals, because that is going to ensure that your digestion process is actually efficient. Remember, I said that most people with the digestive disorders usually are at risk of excessive weight gain, because when the digestion process slows down, that of course affects our metabolism rate, which is the rate at which our body is actually functioning. So apart from ensuring that we are serving our foods the right way, how we take our foods is also very, very important, because I keep on saying that food is like medicine. When you get a prescription, it tells you which medicine to take and how to take that medicine. And I think that is actually what misses. And that's why even for the people who seem to take the right foods, they still get those conditions, they still gain a lot of weight. But of course, we are there as professionals so that we can actually assist them to understand how to do it the right way.
Thank you. Asante sana, Kefa, our consultant nutritionist, and Reina. Thank you for taking that step for your children. Our children are our legacy, and the decisions we make as parents determine the future that they're going to have, not just in terms of the social and everything, but in terms of their health. So let's make good choices. Let's enable them to choose the right things, put the right things on their plates and activities, so that we can make sure that we keep having a healthy nation. Now, if you've missed any of our episodes, we have this on View Sasa. You can also go on YouTube and stream all the episodes from today and before to just catch up on what we've been talking about on matters weight and all the other educational topics that we've been covering. So on the show today, I was your host, Dr. Lauren Mengasa. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next Sunday at 8 p.m.